We end today's show with an update on protests against Cop City in Atlanta and a dramatic hearing Thursday where a judge denied bond for many of the people jailed since March 5th when they were indiscriminately arrested at a music festival against the proposed police training facility, would be the largest in the country. It's in the Weelaunee Forest, and accused of vandalism and arson at a construction site a mile away. They're charged with domestic terrorism based on evidence like muddy clothes. One of those arrested was longtime New York City activist Priscilla Grimm, an editor of the occupied Wall Street Journal, whose daughter, Sophia, told The Independent, "We're so grateful and appreciative for all the support we have received. It's made things so much less stressful." For an update, we're joined by Micah Herskind, a local community organizer in Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome back to Democracy Now! Micah, talk about these charges of domestic terrorism and who is being held in jail and not released on bond.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, these charges are political prosecutions. So 23 people were arrested at the Weelaunee Forest Festival. This was at the very beginning of the week of action. As you said, there was an action that happened about a mile away from this site. And instead of showing up to that site, police showed up at this music festival where people were enjoying music, having a good time, and mass arrested people. Now, ever since March 5th, there were 22 people being held in jail without bond. Just yesterday, they had new bond hearings where about 12 folks got out earlier because on consent bonds, which means they didn't have to pay. 8 people were denied bond yesterday, and 2 people were granted $25,000 bonds. The folks who were denied bond were, not denied bond for any specific evidence other than, as you said, having, mud on their clothes and their shoes, having wet pants. We've seen earlier affidavits and warrants that have said that folks are known members of a prison abolitionist movement. And so at the end of the day, these are really just about trying to repress this social movement that is trying to stop Cop City.
And this is a social movement that goes across the spectrum in Atlanta, right? I mean, you've got religious people, you've got environmentalists who are fighting this, you've got indigenous people who are fighting this, and you have people who are deeply concerned about issues of police brutality who are fighting this. And then you have the recent police killing of Tortuguita, who was one of the activists, and an independent autopsy just came out that suggested that Tortuguita was sitting cross-legged with their hands in the air when they were shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the state has yet to release its autopsy still, even though, we're now months out from this killing. But this independent autopsy showed, Tortuguita's mother, speaking at a press conference, sat down and showed the position that this autopsy found that her child was killed in, which was essentially, looking like this, sitting cross-legged. There were bullets through their palms. And so, yeah, the more information that comes out, the clearer it is that, just as these prosecutions are political prosecutions, the killing of Tortuguita was a political assassination where police marched into the forest and killed somebody and then, most likely lied to cover it up.
The Independent's John Tarleton reported that the conditions in the DeKalb County Jail Women's Unit are poor, Sophia said, one of the daughters of those being held. Sparse food, overflowing toilets, no personal visits due to short staffing, paid telephone, video call services that barely function, transgender arrestees being assigned to areas that don't correspond to their gender. The men's unit reported to be even worse, she said. Your thoughts on how people are able to communicate? And, we just did a story. We interviewed Ben Crump about the 10 people, 7 of them police officers, who were arrested on murder charges for killing a mentally challenged man at a hospital in Virginia. They're out on bond. These activists are charged with domestic terrorism and continue to be held.
Yes. they're being held, and again, really without evidence. During these bond hearings, it was clear that, the prosecution has not yet put together any case. They're, using these fallbacks. One of the examples that they gave was that people were wearing black, and that was evidence of playing on the team, of, being on the side of the protest. And so, the charges are all really shaky. There's really no legitimate evidence that's been put forward. In terms of the jail conditions, right now, this is true across the country, but especially in Atlanta, across the metro Atlanta area, our jails are in absolute crisis. There are jail deaths happening, across the metro area really frequently. The DeKalb County Jail, many parts don't have running water, is what we're hearing from inside. Toilets are broken. There are freezing temperatures. And, despite all of that, there have been vigils that organizers have been hosting outside of the jail as a way to communicate with folks inside. Shortly after their arrests, there was a large vigil that was planned, and things were projected on the jail, and folks were able to yell across the walls of the jail. A father of someone who had been arrested was able to speak directly to his child. And so there have also been really beautiful moments of solidarity and folks on the outside making sure that, we're supporting folks inside.
Micah Herskind, I want to thank you for being with us, local community organizer in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to thank you so much for being with us. That does it for our show. On Monday, Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez is moderating an online panel on Chicago's 2023 mayoral race, Reclaiming Harold Washington's Multiracial Coalition. Details at democracynow.org. And a very happy birthday to Nermeen Sheikh. Also, Democracy Now! Is currently accepting applications for a digital fellow. Learn more and apply at democracynow.org. Democracy Now! Is produced with Renee Feltz, Mike Burke, Dina Guzder, Messiah Rhodes, Nermeen Sheikh, Maria Taracena, Tammy Warnock, Tarina Nadura, Sam Alcoff, Tamar Studio, John Hamilton, Robbie Karen, Honey Massoud, Sanji Lopez. Our Executive Director, Julie Crosby. Special thanks to Becca Staley, Dennis Moynihan, John Randolph, Paul Powell, Mike DeFilippo. I'm Amy Goodman.